a little bit of a deny pick for Odd. It's not a hero that Newbee are necessarily known for running, but I think this could have actually been a pretty good Storm Spirit game for them, just in terms of being able to punish the Furion when he's split pushing, maybe getting into the back lines and finding the Winter Wyvern, but instead it's going to be Odd who take it. I think it slows down their lineup a little bit, but they now have so much global presence in terms of the Storm Spirit being able to zip around and find pickoffs, the Nature's Prophet also TPing. I think I favor the Planet Odd draft, but Newbee have just been playing so well. I feel like they still have a really good chance in this game. A lot of it comes down to whether or not this Sven flops the way that we've seen him in some of the other games in this event, or if Mugi's going to be able to get off to a good start and be that force that can one or two shot people, at all stages of the game.
I mean, how much do you think the Razor counter is going to be playing into that?
I think the Razor is quite good this game because they have the Winter Wyvern for the control. I think the matchup otherwise can sometimes end up in a situation where the Razor gets initiated on, he gets stunned by the Sven, and then he just dies in 3 hits. Razor's a relatively tanky hero, but he's not really naturally tanky. He sort of has to build into it through items, and I feel like Sven, if he's got about the same amount of farm, can still kill him off. But the fact that they can use the Winter Wyvern to control the Sven, I feel like that makes the Razor that much better because he'll actually be able to sit there with the static link either in the Cold Embrace, or they'll just be able to Winter's Curse him and then go for the link. So I think that actually makes this game a little bit more, more difficult for Sven, and it makes the Razor just that little bit better.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it plays out. And again, in the mid lane, we've got Lina versus Storm Spirit. Do you think it's going to be more of a solo one-on-one matchup, or are there going to be lots of rotations in from supports?
Both teams have pretty good rotating support, so I think we will actually see some presence, especially from Planet Odd on this mid lane. The Lina is relatively gankable, and this is a pretty good Lina matchup, so...
KP potentially in a lot of trouble here. Resolution getting a ton of bonus damage, and all they need is one Burrow Strike to really lock him in place, but KP might just be able to run himself out of danger. Meanwhile, Moons just completely caught off guard. The Nature's Prophet could not walk himself back quick enough, so lots of aggression already in these long lanes.
Yeah, we had a conversation the other day about what the best item in Dota is, and I think KP making the case for Boots of Speed here, as he's just going to be able to run away. He does end up denying himself to the tower. Misery did also have Boots, so catching up a little bit, but... yeah, the fact that he got drained. Odd were holding that Burrow Strike so that he wouldn't be able to TP out after it happened, but he chose the right path, running away from Misery and able to get out alive. Well, not alive, but go and deny himself and not give an experience and waste some time.
So Nature's Prophet already having a bit of a tricky start, fed that first blood, and still no CS for him. He hasn't been able to even get up into the wave due to the really aggressive positioning of Newbee supports. Is that just going to be an ever-present problem and he has to go jungle, or is it going to resolve in time?
I mean, this is what Jenkins was talking about, the fact that the Sven is a pretty good laning matchup against the Nature's Prophet. I think he'll probably continue pressuring for a little while here, just because he wants the supports to stay bottom. I feel like Moon is actually okay with the fact that he's not getting a ton of farm, so long as he's constantly scouting Kaka and Faith on this bottom side of the map, especially because they don't have a dire observer ward down here. I think if they had a ward somewhere off to the side, maybe near the bounty rune, they would feel a little bit more safe with Moon backing up into the jungle, but without having that, he needs to continue pressuring the lane so that Faith and Kaka don't feel like they can just go and gank mid over and over and absolutely dumpster Weehaw.
So, I mean, as far as mid is going, SCCC coming out a little bit ahead in terms of last hits, but that's kind of what you expect from Alina. She's long range, she's going to sit there and keep Dragon Slaving the wave, so nothing too crazy going on just yet. And there is a little bit of a rotation, and we've got the Earth Spirit waiting in the wings, but pretty passive positioning from that Storm Spirit. He's not trying to get too crazy.
No, certainly the Storm Spirit has to play a long way back against a lot of heroes. He can run up into the wave, throw down remnants, and go for auto attacks with the overload, but this is definitely a matchup where he just has to play back, get what farm he can. He's definitely not going to win the lane, but for the Storm Spirit, it's always about playing for that Bloodstone timing anyway.
Oh, Faith in some trouble here. Gets up the Frostbite, but only after the Burrow Strike landed, but Moon coming in, going to be zoning back that Nature's Prophet, and again, Bodyguard Sven comes forward. They can't even take out that squishy Crystal Maiden.
Yeah, and knowing that the Sand King is bottom, KP is going to be feeling a lot more confident over here at the top lane. He is going to get linked up a little bit here, so Resolution still able to drive him back, and that's the nice thing about having this Razor on the lineup, is that they do free up their supports pretty nicely to go and pull in the case of Saksa, get some experience, and in the case of Misery, go and put on some more pressure on this bottom side of the map. I think they spotted the Earth Spirit rotating over towards mid on that observer ward that they have over on the hill, So with that little bit of information, he knew that he could maybe go and pressure a bit more bottom. And they do now have, kind of the ward that I was talking about off to the side on bottom to notice if the supports are still there. And that's a lot of information for Wii, and that information can actually translate into farm for him. If he knows that the supports aren't ganking him, he can play a little bit further up in the lane. He'll tank some more harassment, but it should be pretty difficult for the Lina to solo kill him.
Yeah, I mean, Lina doing pretty well, going to be flying in a bottle relatively soon. How much pressure's on the Razor this game? Like, how does he need to perform? Does he need to be top of that net worth chart, or can his Storm and Furion pick up the slack?
I think the Razor needs to be farmed in this game just so that he doesn't get bursted quickly at the beginning of the fight. He needs to be able to survive a handful of auto attacks from the Sven, and then maybe the Laguna Blade from the Lina, and then Planet Odd can get the turnaround. This Razor is kind of the frontline hero that they were missing from their last draft. Somebody who can soak up some spells, keep on moving forward in the team fight, and then if he manages to survive, has a lot of value in terms of auto attacking with the static link, spamming a couple of plasma fields. This has been a big thing that we've been seeing from the carry role recently, picking heroes that do damage while still absorbing spells and not necessarily having to auto attack, and Razor fits that role.
Static link under the ground there as Razor soaks in a little bit of extra damage. So, I mean, KP, naturally having trouble getting up into the wave, but you expect that going up against a Razor. In terms of overall last hits, he's still getting something for his time, and his levels, they're okay. He's almost hitting his level 4.
Yeah, and it's not like Moon is doing that much better, though. That said, now that they have that ward, Moon is kind of able to go and head into the jungle a little bit more, have that TP threat ready for the lanes as well, which does have to give the newbie heroes a second of thought before they actually go for any gank attempt. That was what was so successful for the Nature's Prophet and for Planet Odd against TNC, is always having this global presence from the Prophet. So that's a little bit scary.
Yeah, speaking of gank attempt, we have a deep ward placed down as there's going to be Moon TPing in, leaving the jungle to try to go score up some kills. But Kaka throwing out a rock. There will be a light strike array, but it's not really doing much. We takes a Dragon Slave to the face, but it's just going to be a 3-on-3 clash here. No blood shed in the mid just yet.
Yeah, this is a really weird engagement here on mid lane.
Yeah, the Earth Spirit and the Crystal Maiden just kind of hung out in the trees, and Dire were able to put a ward right on top of them, so they weren't going to get a surprise initiation.
On Soxa, thinking that there might have been an observer ward planted down there, but it's actually over on the other side of this mid lane, so Newbee going to maintain their vision over there. The Sven and the Lina both doing very well in terms of farm. Having last pick proving to be very valuable for Newbee here, and this is something that they just love doing. They really enjoy having the last pick for SCCC so that they can give him the favorable laning matchup, get him off to a good start, and then he can really, in theory, control the game. Soxa in trouble now.
Yeah, he's on the run, just going to flap over the cliff, and Faith not able to go in for that second Frostbite, so just going to let him off with a warning this time.
Yeah, Lina unfortunately unable to close the gap, just the 1 point in the Frostbite right now, so yeah, Soxa lives. The nice thing, the good news for Newbee in terms of the fact that their Lina is having such a good start is that she can create space for the Sven. As we've seen so far this event, if he gets some time to farm and he can just hit jungle creeps for a while, he looks pretty good. If he loses all of his tier 1 towers and has no room to do anything, then he looks pretty awful. And I think the other thing to mention in this game is that the Dire team, or the Dire side of the map, is much better in terms of controlling Ancients, so it matters less for Sven if he loses his towers, since he can still go and farm the Ancients nearby both of the shrines. But on the Radiant side, only one of your Ancient camps is near a shrine. So you sort of lose half of your farming potential if you don't manage to maintain control over this mid-tier 1. So having a hero like Lina and having the Underlord, who have so much spam and who can actually hold on to that tier 1 tower for a very long time, Sven is going to be extremely happy about that. So Newbee picking some nice synergy there, kind of among their cores.
Yeah, you see in terms of net worth right now, the Lina topping out the chart with the Sven. Well, now they just flip-flop Sven now on the top of the chart. But we'll get dove by Resolution, who's going to stack up some nice damage. Misery gets very, very low, and now Moon TP's in. Looks like they are just going to be going back, resetting. But Resolution having some fun here. Now, one thing I did want to talk about is we talked about Planet Odd's cores being very flexible, and Moon had a really tough time early on as the Furion lane, and so he just kind of bailed out into the jungle and gave a lot of that XP to Sand King, who rotated down. So a really good way for Planet Odd to get the most out of lanes that aren't necessarily favorable.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the one thing I just want to point out quickly is that it may have looked like Moon missed that Sprout there, but he wasn't actually trying to catch the Sven inside of it. He knows that Sven has a Tango and a Quelling Blade, so what he was hoping to do is he was hoping to set it up so that he was actually blocked entirely by the Sprout and either had to go around it or actually cut trees twice to make it through. But it just so happened that there was a little gap on the side and he was able to escape. Sprouting the Sven directly would not have done anything.
We've all learned our lesson from some unfortunate RTZ games, but
yeah. Well, not just yet, but once he gets rid of that Quelling Blade, it's game on.
well, speaking of game on, up in the top lane, Sand King in trouble, stunned up. There will be a TP from the Winter Wyvern, and the Sprout saves the day. Now KP out of position, going to get zoned by that Storm Spirit who's zipping across, and that's going to be a dead Underlord. Great way to turn around the fight. It cost a lot of TPs in, but certainly worthwhile.
Yeah, the ability for Planet Odd to respond to ganks this game is crazy. Winter Wyvern can TP in and save people. Winter Wyvern can TP in and curse a couple of people, and then they can have the follow-up TPs complete and get some lockdown. The Storm Spirit can kind of come in from anywhere later on in the game. The same story for the Nature's Prophet. So Newbee gonna have to be really careful about their decisions here. And Kaka diving pretty deep.
Yeah,
but
Moon. They wanted him so bad. Now Dragon Slave going to do some damage to Wii as well, but there we go. Kaka has to roll to freedom with just a sliver of health. Look at that. He is just wishing for death. He has to go all the way back to base, but still better than feeding a kill to that Storm Spirit.
Yeah, and I mean, the Sven continues to farm. Planet Odd tried for that rotation with the Razor down to the bottom lane to put pressure on him, but Newbee being able to force out the other lanes pretty effectively with their spam heroes, sort of relieve the pressure off of Mugi, and Misery going to go for a burst strike here, but he misses.
Yep, God Strength already active on that Sven. He's just going to go chew onto Moons. Very, very dead Moon Meander. Now Misery running for the hills as well. Just going to Sandstorm to buy him some time, but Sven feeling really good about his laning phase, now dominating the net worth chart. And how do you stop this Sven? He's off to a great start. Do you think the Razor counter is going to be enough?
I don't even know if they should bother ganking him. I think they need to try and gank the other heroes that are a little bit easier to pick off and then try and get the towers. They got to take the map control away from the Sven. I think that really needs to be the formula. If I'm Moon there, you see Misery miss the burst strike and you're like, uh-oh. Now there's nothing to stop them from diving this tower. And that's exactly what happens. So Misery playing, pretty aggressively there. I think he was just hoping to harass, but barely missing the burst strike, actually costing Moon his life. And this Nature's Prophet maybe not getting off to quite the start that Planet Odd were hoping for. They put quite a bit of stock in it since the Newbee finally let it, they let it through into the draft this time around. And maybe this comes back to what Jenkins was talking about, Newbee really having a prepared strategy to help deal with the Nature's Prophet.
Yeah, not necessarily about drafting the best heroes in the meta, but drafting what your opponents did not prepare for. Now Sven just going to be zoned out by that Wyvern. Man, Faith gets low. Nature's Prophet just drops the ults, and both heroes having to TP out here.
Yeah, Dire Scan is going to reveal the fact that Faith is still in the trees. Does have a TP to get out, but are Odd going to try and dive for this? Again, the problem is that the Lina, well, in this case, it's actually the Underlord is just constantly spamming mid, and Planet Odd, it looks like they will eventually get this tier 1 tower, but I think it's taking them much longer than they would have liked.
Yep, taking their time with it. I mean, how's the push of both teams? Obviously, Nature's Prophet can sit back and rat as soon as he's given the opportunity. And you think Razor's going to be going for an Ags to augment the Newbee push? Or the Odd push as well?
Yeah, I think the Aghanim Scepter is definitely an item that he thinks about this game. Heaven's Halberd probably quite good as well. Lina not necessarily known 100% for her right-click damage, but when she gets into the later stage of the game, does add up. Obviously, it's going to be great against the Sven. I think Razor, like I said, this game, the real objective for him is just to tank up as much as he possibly can to exist in the middle of the team fight. And as soon as the disables get used on him, that's where Weehawk can just flip the switch and say, you got nothing left, and it's time for me to go. And that's really what I think what the plan is here for Planet Odd. We just continuing to farm. Pretty quiet game for him so far, but also some nice TP responses. And, it's not like he's been completely uninvolved. Does have the 1 assist to his name right now.
Yep. I mean, how long does Razor just want to chill here in the top lane? He's been sitting back, farming. His net worth is okay, pretty sufficiently behind the Lina and the Sven, but when does he start wanting to move with his team and be that frontliner?
Probably once he gets this first started, maybe even the Sanj. You're going to stun onto Saksa.
Yeah, he's in trouble here. Light Strike Array holds him down. That poor Winter Wyvern never had a chance to react. That's going to be an easy pick there. Now, Firestorm cast out, but Misery just going to be TPing away as they know KP has nothing else to lock him in place.
Yeah, all right, bit of space. Looking like another tier 1 tower to be claimed up here on top, but Newbee want to fight.
Yep, TP comes forward. Mugi gets the Stormhammer off, and now SCCC locks him in place with that Light Strike Array, drops the Laguna, and Razor is dead. So all that free farming he's been doing just going to be picked up by Mugi. About 300 gold going his way.
the Sven having such a good early game already starting to pay dividends as he picks up the extremely early, somewhat unexpected Blink Dagger, and Mugi really starting to get active and having something to say about the pace of this game.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we see Sven sitting back farming 15, 20 minutes, but he hasn't stopped killing here. He's 2-0-1, moving with his team, rotating when necessary, so definitely prioritizing hunting more than farming.
Yeah, and I feel like Planet Odd may be getting caught off a little bit by that. They might be just expecting the Sven to be sitting back and farming, but jump in mid.
Yep, they're going to be dragging back that Earth Spirit. He's trying to run, pops out the Magnetize, so we'll be able to do something before he goes down to the Pit of Malice. Grabs 3, but this tower is still getting very low. But there's Mugi going forward. And they're going to lock him down. Winter's Curse used, just draining as much damage as possible. Mugi now on the run, knowing that he can't deal with Resolution's right click to jump back in from Wii. There is going to be a Dark Rift attempt, but oh man, the Pit Lord goes down before he can save even himself. 3 heroes dead now on Newbee as Planet Odd really showing their power here in this mid lane.
Yeah, and we see the power of the Winter's Curse plus Static Link combination. Mugi coming in with his ultimate ready and raring to go, but just couldn't get anything done, really getting controlled in the fight. He is going to be going for an Echo Saber. I like the decision this game. I feel like if he can't really play to get more than like 4 or 5 hits off in the fight, and I think the Echo gives him better bursts to be able to, kill the Storm in the critical window, kill that Winter Wyvern off potentially if he's able to find Saksa in the back lines. But yeah, I mean, it's a Planet Odd lineup that can deal with the Sven even if he's playing a little bit differently. And the Planet Odd vision in the Radiant jungle right now is insane.
Yeah, they see everything going on. They see all the farming. And I mean, that last fight begs the question of what is the plan? If Razor gets off a Static Link on Sven, how do Newbee salvage that? How do they break the link? How do they get this Sven to turn around and start fighting again?
They really need some Force Staffs. That's going to be very important for their lineup here. I would not be at all surprised to see KP going for one right after his mech. They also need the Force Staffs to be able to get him out of the Sprout. Sven is going to be going for a Lincoln Sphere here a little bit early from Mugi, but I think definitely very helpful against what Planet Odd are bringing to bear with the Winter's Curse, with the Sprout, with the Burrow Strike, with the Static Link. Pretty much everything that Planet Odd have to block the link, have to pop the Lincolns, is actually something that Sven is pretty happy to block overall. And I think the other thing for Newbee, I talked about Weeha, sort of, the plan for Odd being Resolution soaking spells and then Weeha going off. And I think Newbee can kind of do the same thing with the SCCC Lina. If they're not paying enough attention, that's where Lina could really start to put in a lot of work in these fights, especially if they're stacking all of their disables on the Sven just to control him.
I like this itemization here by the Razor. He's going for the S and Y, and we've seen Razors, they'll get it, they'll hold on to it for like 5-10 minutes, and then start disassembling into a Manta and a Halberd. Is that the plan here, or do you think he's got stepping stone items in between?
No, I think that's definitely a great way to play this game. The Manta is going to be extremely useful against the Pit of Malice, which is going to prevent you from running forward. I think that's actually the most annoying ability for Razor in this entire game is the Pit. Because as a Razor, as a hero, you're fast, you want to move around in the fights, you want to stay on the fringes, stealing damage, commit, and kind of come in and out somewhat. And the Pit just completely stops your ability to do that and stops your ability to run forward. The Resolution with this build, probably planning on playing the fringes of the fight a little bit less, but still really important for him to be able to move around. And the Manta also good at getting him out of a silence from the Earth Spirit potentially, Frostbite from the Maiden.
Speaking of moving around, there we go. There's going to be a Smoke Cake initiation. Mugi running for his life, but picked off a great kill there for Planet Odd. And that Sven was totally solo. He just went from
Can
going
they get Wii? That's the question here.
He's got mana for days, man. You can't catch up to him.
Kaka just not a clean execution there on the pull silence during the roll. We have so many amazing Earth Spirit players in the scene at this point that, even...
We're spoiled.
Yeah, even like minor mistakes, you're like, oh, well, that was pretty bad. It is difficult to pull off, especially since it wasn't clear whether Wii was going to go for another zip, reposition himself in the wave, but I think that's a kill that they could have gotten. It's 3 points Geomantic Grip and 4 points in Boulder Smash. So as soon as they land that first disable, they can run up with the Frostbite as well, and Faith even opting for the max Frostbite build this game, I think specifically for that little bit of extra lockdown against the Storm. That's a kill that Newbee really should have gotten.
Faith just on the run here. Misery should be able to snip him down. They're going to TP in the Nature's Prophet and sprout him up, so Faith just gets a couple moments, buys a Sentry Ward and a TP. That's a A true position 5 right there.
Yeah, could have maybe cast one last spell, get a little bit more harassment out on the enemy team, but yeah, wanted to do some shopping instead. Newbee, SCCC working his way towards his Shadow Blade, so he's still in a pretty good position this game. Kaka rolling forward.
Yep, looks like they are going to be able to go. They grab the Pit of Malice, just holding that Winter Wyvern down. This poor dragon can't really find much. Silenced up and killed off by the Pit Lord as SCCC just a little bit late to the party to get in that last right click. But yeah, the Lina's itemization is fantastic. I think the well-timed Bloodstone and then going right into the Shadow Blade. There is that window usually where Lina picks up that Shadow Blade where she's able to get off 2 or 3 kills before the enemy team really has a chance to react and buy sentries and buy dusts.
Yeah, and we are starting to see a little bit of the impact of the pressure from the Newbee supports and the laning matchup against the Lina showing up on the Storm Spirit. Oh, Misery with a missed burrow.
Yeah, with initiation, but Resolution's still going to go, still going to try to chase forward. Kaka not able to roll to freedom as they are going to bring the Storm Spirit as well to try to focus down the Lina. Lina, will she get a chance to react? Cast the Light Strike Array. Laguna Blade trying to take out the Storm Spirit, but she instead goes down, not able to get off those 1 or 2 last clicks to take out the Storm Spirit. So really high value kills starting to fall out on Newbee.
Yeah, and look at this. It's Resolution. He's fast. He's got his S&Y and Faith.
Yep, they go for the TP. They got the spread if necessary. Pit of Malice holds 2 back. Faith, 1 right click from death. Will get a chance to walk back up onto the high ground while Moogie from the back lines is able to go and take out the Winter Wyvern. So a little bit of lockdown now missing on Planet Odd, but they're still feeling really confident in their positioning.
Yeah, and actually Resolution going to be going for a pretty similar build to what we saw him go for on the Gyrocopter the other day, just going for the S&Y and looking like he wants to go straight into the BKB. I mean, BKB also going to help him out a decent amount here in terms of moving around in the team fights, makes it more difficult to burst the Lina. I was just about to say that Storm Spirit didn't have his Bloodstone yet, and his timing was a little bit behind, but then he killed Lina, and all of a sudden he's got it, so he's looking A-okay here. And interesting item queued up for Weeha. He's actually going to be going for the Lotus Orb, so maybe realizing that I've seen people buy Yules on Storm thinking that it's good against the Pit of Malice on the Underlord, but the way that it works out is that you get rooted and then you Yules yourself and then you come right back down and you get rooted again. Yeah,
Fun change.
Yeah, so the Underlord is the Lotus Orb, sorry, is a great way for the Storm Spirit to deal with that, and also really good at dealing with the Frostbite from the Crystal Maiden and the Silence from the Earth Spirit.
It's really good this game. I think all it takes is for Sven to stun himself and allow Razor to get off the full duration static link, and or if Lina Laguna Blades herself, that will just be pretty common.
Yeah,
that will just totally kill her.
Ooh, SCCC looking for a little bit of revenge, but the Storm is pretty tanky.
Yeah, they just got to keep her locked down. Faith is able to go and follow up with the Frostbite. There's the Laguna. He does suicide, so they're not going to get that much-needed gold.
Yeah, nice positioning from Faith. Misery even going to be able to secure this tower deny here, so just denies across the board. We do have a Sven moving in behind these heroes, pushing on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, that's how he killed the Winter Wyvern, is the full wraparound.
They see him now, though, and they might just run at him. That could be problems for Moogie, yeah, and he knows it.
He's going to bail.
Ooh, big zip.
Oh, yep, going in, but just a little bit off the mark. Didn't get that angle quite right.
That would have been huge if we had been able to find that. Pick up another Bloodstone charge for himself, start rebuilding those. Looks like they are going to try for a push down here at bottom. KP interested in trying to put down a Firestorm to delay this, but there is already a Dire Ward scouting him back behind the tower, so he's going to play this very safe, at least until they see maybe one more hero on the map from Planet Odd.
Yeah, the Planet Odd vision this entire game has been phenomenal, knowing that Newbee, they need to prioritize jungling, they need to make sure there's free places for Sven to go and take those Ancients, but they have just been all over that jungle. Yeah,
and I mean, KP spamming it out there. The Storm Spirit is off the map, but Weeha is going to reveal himself down at bottom, so this tier 2 tower is going to be secured 100% for free. Newbee trying to go and put some split pressure over on the top side of the map, but again, the Planet Odd lineup responds so well when they're near their own towers, so it's going to be tough for them to do anything. And Weeha threatening.
Deep zip in. He's got to watch his mana pool a little bit here, starting to dip a bit low. The Bloodstone charge is not balling out of control just yet, so.
Yeah, this game's getting really interesting, but I feel like the Planet Odd initiation is getting stronger way faster than Newbee's is. They've already, they've had the blink on the Sven for a little bit. Underlord, not really much of an initiation hero, and that's a big part of where his reputation as a 5-man hero comes from, because one of the only ways that an Underlord team has to initiate fights is for the team to just walk up to a building and just force the other team to engage onto them, and then use the Underlord to counter-initiate. So the fact that the Sand King now has a Blink Dagger and a Force Staff picked up, I think makes these fights look really scary if you're Newbee in this game.
Yeah, and Razor going to be going for that BKB. In fact, almost has it done. So not only can he frontline and just walk at you with a static link, now it's really hard to disjoin him. You can't just Stormhammer in the face. You've got to really run. That's just such a great way for Planet Odd to charge in and catch Newbee off guard.
Yeah, I mean, Razor only really needs to be survivable in this game. I feel like if Resolution tanks every ability from the enemy team, he's going to be pretty happy because he knows that Weeha's going to kill them all.
Speaking of Weeha, he is going to be invis in the mid lane. They're going to be Razor forward, and that's just going to be a super dead Lina. Although she's able to get herself back, SCCC trapped in, is going to suicide, and now they're going after Crystal Maiden. This poor gal is going to be picked off as well. Kaka able to TP out, but still 2 heroes dead, and Planet Odd lose nothing. In fact, putting themselves in a better position to keep snowballing.
Are they thinking about Roshan here? They don't have a Medallion, they don't have a Vlad, they don't really have much of a Roshan lineup. And the Lina's actually going to be up relatively soon because of the Bloodstone charges.
They're scanning. Are they trying to take this? It's only 2 guys, and they're not doing a whole lot of damage.
Oh, KP not in an amazing position, but he does have his Force Staff and his mech.
He's dragged back in, just going to be trapped in the Pit of Malice, not really causing any problems. In fact, dragging the Underlord forward. Now 3 heroes there, and Moogie is going to be up. Oh, yeah, Sven going to have to do some serious damage to his own teammate, but blinking forward, Cold Embrace, keeping Saksa alive. And now Razor comes in, is just going to be held in place very briefly. While on the back lines, we've got an Epicenter coming forward, the Ancient coming in. That's a very big bad Satyr, and ooh. Little pause there as the Light Strike Array comes in. We got some lag coming out, but I mean, as of now, everyone's still standing. Pit Lord is still up and fighting. How do you think this fight's gonna be?
Oh, looks like it's about to start again. Maybe we're about to find out. The Storm's a little bit low on mana, and he's silenced for a while.
Yep, he's got to just walk himself around this cliff. It's pretty tricky. Now he does get stunned up immediately after the silence ends, but able to zip himself across the river. Wee still alive. Moogie chasing after him, trying to get the kill with the cleave, and now Kaka comes forward. Will find the kill that Newbee so desperately needed. The lag is back, but the Storm Spirit is dead, so Newbee feel like they can breathe at least a little bit more after that fight.
I'm sorry, who's bad at Earth Spirit? Is it supposed to be Kaka? Because he's doing really well in these fights. He did miss the boulder smash there, but
you're the one that said it, bro.
Oh, I mean it was Nahaz that started the hate train, but obviously he's missed a couple of things here and there, but I feel like Kaka, looking pretty good. Unfortunately, a little bit of lag. It looks like Moon is also being caught out over on the bottom side of the map with SCCC shadow blading in to defend his tier 3 tower here. So is he dead? The stun's only going to last a tiny bit longer. Moon does have Phase and Drum both off cooldown to try and escape, but Lina's got 3 stacks. I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out. But nice fight for Newbee. I think a little bit of a weird one for Planet Odd, though it makes more sense in the context of the Nature's Prophet being bought and split pushing. I think they were just hoping to find a little engagement around this ward that they had placed. And make some space for the Nature's Prophet to do some damage on the bottom side of the map, since that's something that their lineup is actually really good at doing. Drawing Newbee into fights, wasting their time, and then having the Prophet go and split push a little bit.
Yep, we are now resumed in. So down bottom, looks like Moon is just going to TP himself out, went for that Sprout TP, and SCCC going to opt not to hold him in place with that Light Strike Array.
I already used, yeah. Everything was on cooldown.
Are you sure? Because it seemed like it was off cooldown when the TP completed.
Maybe could have tried for it.
Yeah, either way, Lina lets him off with a warning.
Yeah, Moogie looking, not looking for anything up top. Misery's already backing up. They've got, oh my god, they've planted so many sentries over on this Radiant, over near these Radiant Ancients, just trying to maintain control over this area of the map, since their jungle is feeling pretty scary right now, and they know that this Fen needs to keep hitting creeps to continue scaling. Not going to be going for a BKB here, interestingly enough. Does feel like he needs a little bit more damage, so working towards the crit. Could be quite a good Bloodthorn game for him here. Blink in, Bloodthorn the Winter Wyvern, and be able to kill her off before she casts any of those pesky spells. But Kaka with his Blink Dagger up.
Yep, we do want to mention that new Lincolns for the Storm as well. So there we go. Misery gonna, ooh, look at that Blink. And well, it might still cost him his life, but now Resolution comes forward. They do finish off the Sand King, but Razor with 63 extra damage, still feeling safe and beefy. Does Weehaw want to jump in on this?
This is not a big drain. Oh, okay, Earth Spirit. That's his last rock, which is a little bit concerning. He's actually going to bring it over to the pit just to make sure that he has a couple, but...
This is a very, very ballsy
Oh
rush.
my god, we're seeing the power of this Firestorm again. Planet Odd with just 1 hero dead. I don't know if they can do anything. Oh my
Thanks for
word.
that balance there, the percentage-based Roche damage, but Pit of Malice just to hold him in place. Faith is killed off outside the pit, but the Roshan is already dead. SCCC takes that one out, but look at that. Beautiful Wyvern ult. KP saves his own life. They are going to be able to go wrap around and kill him. Wee can make his way in. Now Saksa in the pit will go down, but full drain now. Resolution is up and fighting. SCCC tries to finish him off, but going to get sprouted in place, and looks like the Storm Spirit wants to finish him off as well, but they don't have the stun. Lina able to TP out, but she's the only survivor on her team, the only one holding the Aegis, in fact. So 4 heroes dead, and they only traded for the Wyvern. Was that Roche worth it?
Probably not. I think Planet Odd going to be pretty happy with that. If there's any good news for Newbee, they managed to get out with the Aegis intact, and it's also a Roshan that Planet Odd won't be able to take and put on their Storm Spirit. So I think that was, probably not ideal for Newbee. And I think the biggest thing to look at in this fight is that Kaka just doesn't have anything to do. He kicks one rock, he goes for the pull, misses the Storm Spirit completely, and then kind of rolls off into the distance and dies somewhere. And they get a beautiful Winter Wyvern ultimate off, and then the Sven just starts to be kited. He's not an amazing hero with Aegis, so I really like Newbee's decision to put it on SCCC instead, but he committed the ultimate to take the Roshan and didn't really have it to be able to take the ensuing fight. So
I mean, the good thing is Sven did finish off his crit before he died, so not going to be lacking a whole lot of money there. Still going to be up and farming a little bit better than he was before, but it feels like this Sven just isn't getting scarier as the game's going later. He's getting more items, he's still fighting with his team, his positioning's pretty good, but the Razor just static linking him in every fight makes him feel so wimpy. Yeah,
the Sven really needs I mean, ideally for Newbee, the way that they start a fight is that the Lina Shadow Blades into the back line, spots the Wyvern. Oh, speaking of spotting the Wyvern.
Yeah, hold in place the Pit of Malice. She's just going to try to flap her way to freedom, but they got Faith there to lock her down with the Frostbite. Wow, they're going to commit a full ult to that to try to get space for Sox. He was going to attempt a TP, but will get held in place by the Light Strike Array. So quick kill there. Lina picking up some more Bloodstone charges, and what's she up to now? It's going to be 9 for her. So
yeah, exact same as the Storm Spirit.
They've been pretty head and head. They started at 12, each suicided down to 8, and now they're stacking up again.
Yeah, Lina's still doing amazingly well in terms of farm, however, but to be expected when you're last picking your mid hero, you're thinking that there's very few counters on the enemy team for whatever you're grabbing. So I think SCCC having about an expected game here. Sven going to be going back for a BKB, so it's going to be. I mean, it makes it a tiny bit more difficult to pop his Lincolns. It means that it won't be, they can't force staff it, they can't burrow strike it, won't be able to splinter blast, but, they still have ways to deal with it on the Planet Odd side, though maybe not ideal to have to use the Winter's Curse or something like that to deal with it. And also I think the big reason that Mugi decides to go for the BKB now is he saw how badly the Winter's Curse hurt KP in that fight. Underlord as a hero wants to be in the thick of things. He wants to be utilizing his Atrophy Aura to reduce the damage from the enemy team, but if that means standing next to the Sven, then that's not good news.
Ooh,
nice stun from Kaka.
Yeah, they got vision on him. Unfortunately, this Nature's Prophet just trying to wait out the duration of the dust, but there we go. SCCC drops the Laguna, but meanwhile, down bottom, nice little rat play from the Treants and the Storm Spirit. We'll be able to take out the first tier 3. So Shrine's now vulnerable, and that's going to mean that Radiant have an even tougher time securing Ancients for their Sven.
Ooh, SC coming in. I was talking a little bit earlier about how the best way for them to start a fight is to Shadow Blade into the back lines and kill off the 2 supports, but Misery's already got a gem, so that's going to make that play very, very difficult. Helps with the map control for Odd as well. If they can get rid of all of these Radiant wards, they'll have even more room to split push around.
Yeah, we were talking about how the Radiant have just been placing down oodles of sentries to save their lives.
Yeah, the ward game from Planet Odd I think has been really good this series so far. Yeah, so these gem pickups are turning out to mean a lot for both teams. As I mean, Newbee they still have this Aegis intact, so they're actually pretty keen to make their way out onto the map and make things happen. Sven's got his level 18, so he's got his 3 points up in the ultimate, hitting a pretty nice timing for himself, and Planet Odd still kind of waiting around for the next round of items. Wee was queuing up the Lincolns, like you said. I saw that a little bit earlier, but looks like he did decide to go for the Lotus Orb in the end instead. I think that's mostly motivated by the Earth Spirit silence.
SCCC just going to start wailing at this tower. I mean, the tower push from Newbee is fantastic if they can get a window to go in and get some space. So the reason they're getting so much space is because Dire are going, they took out their Shrine, and now they're going to go and trade tier 2s.
Would you look at that? The entire team's back, but they're still showing the Lina. I don't know if Planet Odd have realized that this has happened just yet.
Oh, they're going to initiate. Mugi jumps forward, but there's just going to be a Razor who doesn't seem to give a hoot. BKB'd up with that Lotus Orb rockin'. Nice Winter's Curse is going to trap 3 heroes in. Saksa going to be keeling off Faith, and now Kaka drops himself, and This is going to be pretty interesting there as the Light Strike Array locks everyone down. Mookie gets the kill onto Saksa.
All right, so it just ends up being a couple of supports dying. There was a BKB charge expended from Resolution, so a little bit expensive there, but nicely played. And I think also a really nice force staff from Misery coming out in that fight. And more of a jump here. Sven in some trouble.
Yeah, he's just going to go for the TP out, knowing that they already used every sort of lockdown they had. So he does make it back, but you see how defensively that Sven has to play. And now both shrines are down on the Radiant side of the map, so jungle farming and ancient farming for Sven gets so much more difficult.
Yeah, his net worth is going to start stalling out a little bit at this point. He does have the majority of the items that he wants, but I mean, BKB and Bloodthorn, both still amazing for him to pick up at this stage of the game. Yeah, I think the other thing in that fight is that that force staff saved Wee so hard. He used the Lotus Orb onto the Razor, which meant that he didn't have it to dispel the pit, and he was stuck in there, silenced and caught in the pit. I think he would have actually gotten hit by the pit again if he just had to walk out of it. But Misery, completely on point, gets him, gets the force staff out and actually manages to save Wee's life. Would have been a pretty big pickup for Newbee if they'd been able to grab that one. But they don't have the Aegis anymore. It's actually expired, and looks like both teams just kind of back to farm stations for a little bit. But Odd do continue to make good progress at chipping away on this Radiant side of the map with the Tier 3 already dead. They took out the Tier 2 up top, though that was a trade for the Tier 2 bottom.
Oh, going to be a big rotation here. Smoke up as a full
and a double
group.
damage.
Yeah, if they can actually find some kills here, this is a huge window for Planet Odd to go and start busting up some racks.
Yeah, they don't have a bottle for it, so Resolution just carrying that around right now, so it limits their window a little bit, but they are on the hunt.
Yeah, it looks like they could find what they're looking for if they make the right rotations here, and looks like the smoke should start to pop, depending on how far they push in. Faith.
Oh, Weeha.
Yeah. Gonna be,
Weeha's gone.
Wish we saw that one. Looks like Laguna Blade just spent out. Now there is going to be a full duration static link coming forward. Resolution rocking a ton of extra damage. Needs one more click. We'll be able to get the kill on Kaka. Now SCCC blasts that BKB and just has to run. So big BKB charge wasted. And well, there's the Pit of Malice. Winter Wyvern tried to cold embrace herself just to live a little bit longer, but does end up dropping. So Storm Spirit as well as the Wyvern go down, trading only for the Earth Spirit. Meanwhile, down bottom, there is going to be some split push by the Nature's Prophet, which you can pretty consistently count on at this point in the game.
Yeah, we was just feeling confident because his team wasn't that far away, and he was sitting right underneath a Dire Observer Ward.
Oh, Moogie in some trouble here. They are going to be going and getting some good stuns off. Pit of Malice grabs onto two. They're going to Storm Hammer just to hold him back down. And Moogie just running away, but oh, Force Staff this time not going to break the static link. They bring in Weeb. Dark Rift coming through, but Sven just bails. Sven not going to go in the Dark Rift. He did not want to go in that Uber ride, and he's just running back up onto the Tier 3s.
I didn't catch it, but I think Moogie may have actually backpacked his Blink there to be able to get out, even if the Storm Spirit had zipped on him. So pretty nice play. Newbee going to show the strength of the Underlord in this game in controlling the Razor, keeping them back with the Pit, force staffing his Sven around. He's very much just a Sven enabler in this game. He's going to put the Lotus on him. He's going to force staff him around. He's going to use the Pit to control his target. And we'll see if that's going to be enough for Newbee to answer back against all of the Sven counters on the Planet Odd side.
Yeah, I mean, the way KP's been playing this Underlord, it begs the question, why aren't we seeing more Underlord? Because it just seems so powerful, not only with the Firestorm on top of Roche bug feature, whatever you want to call it, but...
Oh, we again could be in trouble.
Yeah, he's going to get silenced up, held in place by the Light Strike Array. They're just going to spare no expense taking him down. So Storm Spirit dead for a minute now with no buyback.
These pickoffs from Newbee have been great. I don't think the gem is translated into as much map control as Odd were kind of hoping, as we just continues to drop. The chip damage does continue, but SCCC going to scout Resolution in the trees with his Shivas, and that's going to...
That's a BKB TP. He is just making sure he gets out of there because he can't afford to be dead at the same time as a Storm, because immediately Newbee will punish that and turn that into structures.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened in the previous game when Resolution died once. The game just pretty much ended on the spot, so says a lot about the value of this player for the team. Nature's Prophet does have his Mjolnir and a Silver Edge picked up now, so a potential way to reduce the damage. I think that's somewhat of an underrated aspect of the Silver Edge. You talk about the break. The break is certainly going to be good against the Atrophy Aura this game, but then also potentially applying the damage reduction to the Lina before she drops her combo, or the Sven as he's trying to burst somebody. That's going to be a really big deal, and of course a really nice split pushing item for Moon to have. And looks like he's going to be going into the Hex next. He is the most farmed hero on the Dire side of the map right now, and I think just unfortunately for Odd, we not really getting the farm that that he would like. This Orchid is going to be really important. He's getting close, but just not quite there yet with those back-to-back deaths.
And 4 Bloodstone charges in that Storm Spear. That's brutal.
Yeah, that's certainly rough. Oh, roll forward from the Radiant. They know that somebody's here.
Oh, they get the dust. Zoxa just trying to flap down to the low ground. Do they have the catch? Goes in with another Glimmer Cape. There's going to be a Stormhammer. Connects onto the Dragon. Wow, look at the damage. Moogie, just 3 shots. The Winter Wyvern just melts him up.
Yeah, we're starting
But,
to...
you know, Rax.
Yeah, Rack's pretty important, but this is where you talked about the Underlord. Why do we not see it enough? I think it's mostly because Underlord is just such an amazing hero against what Planet Odd like to do as a team. They've been showing a style of, in the last couple of games, of splitting the map reasonably heavily. They're relying on they want the Nature's Prophet a lot. That seems to be their answer to how to win these games against Newbee, and I think this is just something that Newbee have sat there and theory crafted about and said, we really like the Underlord against the Nature's Prophet. I'm going to go all the way back to what Jenkins was saying on the panel, that if you're Newbee in this series, maybe you come up with a strat against the Prophet, and if you successfully beat it after giving it to them, maybe Planet Odd will stop picking it, and then Newbee will be able to have even more control in the draft. So I feel like that's a big part of this game. They pick the Sven. If they win with the Sven, I think that's a big statement, and if they beat the Nature's Prophet, I think that's also a huge statement from Newbee.
How does the Sven keep scaling? Because he's kind of reaching that point in the game where there's no more huge items to pick up after he finishes off that Bloodthorn, of
Yeah,
course.
the Bloodthorn's still going to be big. I think the Mask of Madness is not a 6-slot item necessarily, so AC is still pretty good. You can still add a Moon Shard into his inventory, but it's more about his supports helping him out. We're just seeing how valuable these Force Staves can be in terms of preventing the control that Planet Odd want to lay down onto him. So I think some more Lotus Orbs, some more Force Staves, he can actually continue to scale, but it's not by hitting creeps himself. It's actually by kind of maxing out and then leaving parts of the map for his supports to take over.
So Roche is up, and it looks like Newbee are going to take a shot at it, but Planet Odd are not too far away. It's all just a matter of getting in there quick enough. Sven, he popped the God Strength for this.
Yep.
So they're fully committing.
Gem on the deck, Resolution, scouting things out a little bit here. Boulder Smash catches
gets
him.
clipped by the boulder, so they've got to finish off this Roche really quickly. They've got a small window to do so as they are going to wrap around Zoxa. The Age is picked up by Moogie. He's still got the God Strength for a couple more seconds, wants to go finish off the Winter Wyvern, and will be able to do so fairly quickly. So far, that's the only casualty, as the rest of Planet Odd have just scrambled. Their initiation was a little bit botched. They couldn't get there in time, so they're just going to drop one and prevent any further losses.
That team fight was kind of all over the place. It looked like Wii was trying to split push bot a little bit. I really wish we could see that one again, but I think with only the 1 kill on the support, it's maybe unlikely to be queued up as an instant replay. Unfortunate for Newbee that they don't actually manage to put the Aegis on the Lina. I think the Lina is actually the much better Aegis carrier in this game for them, but they will at the very least be able to give her the cheese. And I think SCCC was just too busy running interference on the outside of the pit to prevent Resolution coming in. Very timely Shivas from him as well. I think it may have canceled the blink on Misery. Not 100% sure. At the very least, it scouted him and made it a little bit more difficult for him to get into that fight. But Newbee, with the Aegis secured, I don't think it's a huge deal on the Sven. But the one thing that he might be able to do now is actually go in without popping any of his cooldowns, force Planet Odd to waste a whole bunch of stuff on him, and then he pops back up with the God Strength and the BKB for round 2 and completely mops up the fight. So maybe it's not actually that bad that it's ended up on the Sven, though you do normally think of him as not such an amazing Aegis hero since he only really has 1 round of all of his spells and items.
Oh. KP really tries to go for the chase there, but won't find anything. Let's take a look at Resolution's items, because he's got the Refresher queued up on the Razor. So is he just trying to ult up a Storm? He's got the Aghanim Scepter, so I think the plan here is just get Planet Odd near structures and start going to town. But speaking of going to town, they are finding a nice juicy Nature's Prophet.
Yeah, Planet Odd seem to have decided that they... I don't even know if they 100% have to split push out this game. I guess it's mostly about the Aegis and Cheese being on the Newbee side right now, that they feel as though they can't take a head-on fight, so they're just having to split push these lanes as heavily as they possibly can. The fact that Newbee have also picked up a gem of their own has started to show up, and what was previously some easy split push, well, not necessarily easy split push for the big zip.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
Just hello, goodbye.
He's toying with him, trying to force him to use a couple of spells, burn some cooldowns.
Yeah, but I guess they feel like they have to just split push the lanes until this Aegis expires. And Newbee, knowing that, they are going to head straight down this middle lane.
I mean, what are the windows of these teams? Is Planet Odd really scrambling, or are they content to sit back and let this go later and later?
I think they can still win fights, but they really need this Blink Dagger on the Winter Wyverns.
Oh, there we go, Moogie. Really has to start running there. He's slowed down. Light Strike Array keeps back the Razor just to make sure he won't continue to press forward. Poor little Crystal Maiden gets low. They need one more hit, and they will be able to find it as Wee is just zipping around, but he's fresh out of mana. Meanwhile, there will be a nice Winter's Curse. Oh, man, this Lina is toast as there's another reinitiation from Misery, able to force staff himself to safety. Now, Resolution still has that BKB going, so the Pit of Malice won't slow him down. He's going to be going in, wants to find something here, but can they cancel that TP? They will. They use the Vortex to suck back the Pit Lord, and that's going to be it for him. So 3 heroes going down, maybe even 4 as Kaka scrambling there. He's going to be able to TP out. There's just no way they can get on top of him in time, so... Well, Newbee, it seemed like they just pushed a little bit too hard there. They got the tier 2, or rather, yeah, the tier 2, continued to try to push for the tier 3, but didn't give enough credit to Planet Odd's defense.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit, that might have been a little bit rushed from Newbee. I think they were just hoping to force everybody on Planet Odd back, but we saw the problem there with having the Aegis on the Sven as opposed to the Lina. She had cheese, but just couldn't pop it because of a nice Winter's Curse coming in from Saksa, and I think that fight answers your question about, are Planet Odd up against it? Have they missed their timing? I think they're still plenty strong. The Storm Spirit still has a ton of scaling to do in towards the late game, and they're working on a second Hex to match up with the one that they have on the Nature's Prophet, so they're going to have amazing control as the game continues. And again, that's where I had to talk about the Force Stabs, the Lotus Orbs. These items are going to be so important for the Newbee supports, and it's going to completely depend on whether or not they can actually farm them up.
Resolution just manning up here, pops the BKB to mitigate the Stormhammer. Now, again, this little Razor, he's all about his ultimate here, just wants to be able to push. He's still queuing up that Refresher Orb, although his ult is going to expire right about now.
Yeah, but the Rat King is over at top lane. Moon.
Oh, Moogie with the reinitiation there. Winter Wyvern trying to do what he can, try to keep his teammates alive, but has to be so careful of his positioning here. This Sven can take him out in just 2 shots. And speaking of taking out, that Razor is done. It does have buyback, but it's so risky to try to get back into this fight. It's just going to be Sand King trying to run. Ooh, the Sandstorm to dodge out the
They've used the Storm as well. This is a big problem for Wee. He does have his Lotus in 1 second time.
Just going to be running back. There's a double damage. He's going to try to snipe it. Oh, the Storm picks, or rather the Sven picks it up. Lotus Orb is going to be there. The Sven stuns himself, but trapped in the Pit of Malice. It seems like that's an unlikely spot for Storm to get out of it, so he does suicide.
Man, the positioning from Newbee in that fight was sick. Saksa had the Winter's Curse the whole time, but he couldn't find an opportunity to use it.
Nope.
Moon as well now getting caught. This is turning into a disaster for Planet Odd.
I mean, what was the logic of Nature's Prophet being down in that bot lane? I know he wanted to split push, but he had to know that all of Newbee's heroes are going to be wrapping back down from the shrine.
It's the 2 cores dead. Underlord has ultimate ready, so if he doesn't cut the wave, then they're just going to go straight mid. It was a play that he felt like he had to make, and, well, if he hadn't made that play, then these buybacks would have been forced anyway. So I could understand the gamble that he was kind of going for, but unfortunately just TP'd right on top of Radiant Ward and died pretty much instantly.
So Prophet just bought back, but it seems like this tier 3 tower is done. Sand King left to defend, so Prophet just trying to spam some treants down in the bottom lane.
Newbee are so good at positioning themselves against this Winter's Curse. They've been caught out by it once, and I feel like since then they've been doing extremely well. Moogie with the clutch BKB, just going to be able to get the TP out here, and that is a completely wiped out lane of Rax. Surprising that Newbee are the first ones to actually get the lane in this kind of a game, but I mean, Planet Odd, they've taken the tier 3 on bottom, they've taken the tier 3 on top. They are in a situation where if they win a fight in the right way, they can actually potentially take the entire base, especially when you talk about this Aghanim Scepter up on the Razor. Though just a nice fight execution from Newbee.
I wish I could show you the net worth graph is just crazy. It's spiking it really back and forth. I mean, there was a pretty solid lead for Newbee up at that 12-minute mark when they started to get big kills with that Sven. Since then, it's been kind of in Odd's favor, but it's just zigzagging back and forth, and now just spikes up. 4K now in favor of Newbee, which is the biggest disparity we've seen so far.
Yeah, really interesting item selection from Moogie here. Didn't complete the Bloodthorn. The Lina's actually gone for that instead, and he's sitting on a Moon Shard, and obviously hasn't been forced to consume it just yet because he bought the Boots of Travel. He's got the extra inventory slot, but I think this is where we talk about one of the most underrated aspects of this item, the plus 300 bonus night vision. Neither team has the most ridiculous vision game in the world, so having that little bit of extra information to be able to blink in and maybe find the Wyvern in the backlines could actually just change the complexion of this game completely. So I think this is a really a really cool choice from Mugi when, I think in a lot of cases you would see players instead go for the AC.
Hold that thought as Mystery is going to channel up the Epi, is able to get a really nice initiation off. They blow up the Lina, and she's now dead for 70 seconds unless she wants to buy back. Resolution is still charging forward, but Mugi going in, trying to lock down Wee, but he's able to cut himself out of the Sprouts. Sven is going to be going in, will be able to go and clean up the Winter Wyvern, but the fight is still definitely going on. The Magnetize is still rocking. Resolution running into the trees. The Laguna Blade is popped onto the Earth Spirit, who's now Yulesed up in the trees. Kaka going in, trying to fight, and will be able to go and take out the Razor and keep himself alive. Beautiful fight there from Newbee. They get exactly what they want. They take out the Prophet, the Razor, and the Wyvern, and now the Nature's Prophet, that's a dieback from him.
Yep. Yeah, this is tough. I mean, SCCC also expending a buyback, but really sensing a great opportunity there in that fight. They expended so many spells on him, and I mean, I feel like I've been talking about it the whole game for Planet Odd in terms of if you focus spells on Resolution, that's where we can go crazy, but it's the same thing for Newbee in the opposite direction. If they use everything on SCCC, all of a sudden Mugi can actually kind of win them the fight in a lot of ways. And they will force that buyback out. Can they get this kill?
Tier 3 tower down. Mugi forced deeper into enemy territory. Forced that back out by his teammate. Static Link is still rolling. He's going to BKB himself, potentially trying to turn this. Yeah. Oh, man. They blow up that Wyvern. Got no buyback. And in the pit of Malice, the Sand King now fighting for his life, locked in place. But the Light Striker, right, he's done as well. Buyback from the Sand King. But they're trying to go in Resolution here. Sven stuns himself, but might just be enough of the lockdown that they need. This is huge. This is 3 heroes dead without buyback, and the GG is called. Newbee take game number